Today we'll be learning about radical form and rational form. The first thing you must know about radical form is that radical form is simply turning a square root form into a fractional form. Now, the way you can do this, you first have to know your parts of your square root. So your d, or as shown, is your coefficient, which always remains on the inside of your square root. Now, above your coefficient that's in the square root is going to be your power. On the outside, and always on the outside of your square root, is called your index. Okay, so now that we know our parts of the fraction, so now that we have this part of the fraction down, we must learn how to put them in radical form. So I'm going to scroll down so we can practice. So our coefficient goes inside the radical. So this is your coefficient. Here's the radical. Your coefficient goes inside. Your power is always inside your coefficient, shown right here. This power goes inside, which your power is on top, as told, and your index is on bottom. So you're going to put your power and your index, which always goes inside, outside. Now, going to number 16 to practice, remember that is your coefficient, and coefficients remain outside, while your power on top, your index goes on your outside, as well as your power on bottom goes on top of your coefficient. This is how you do radical forms. So practice number 16 by yourself, and then we will do this together. Now, for something like this, we know x is our coefficient, right? What I haven't explained to you is that if a number does not, or a coefficient does not have an index on the outside, it is automatically 2. This is why number 2 is your index. So your coefficient, and then your power, which is 1 to itself, and then you're going to put your number 2, your index, on the outside. This is how you do it. Now, for something like simple, you might be thinking, oh yeah, this is super hard for this one. Not at all. Just simply the same thing we've been doing. The only thing different is that you're going to be putting your whole equation in here. And you're going to put your parentheses. And you're just simply going to put your power on the outside of it and your index on the outside of your radical. That is it. So going back to number 16, I hope you did it by yourself. This is how you do it. Your coefficient remains on the inside. Your power, which is on top, goes on the inside. And your index simply goes on the outside. I hope you've got that right. Now simply going to the inverse of the whole thing. So we're going to look at rational form. Rational form just means turning your coefficient or your square rooted into fractional form. How do you do that, you ask? Simple. Always simple. We know that your coefficient, if there is no number, is always going to be 2. And we know 51 times itself equals 51. So, we know that our coefficient goes right there, just like a normal function. And your power is going to go on top, as well as your index, which goes on bottom. Now, I want you to work on number 6 by yourself. I move on to show you number 7. This is how you do it. Now, number 7 is not way different, just a little different. The only thing different is that it's already set up for you, you see? So all you have to do is your coefficient, your power, which goes on top, and your index, which goes on bottom. Yes, it's unproportional, but yet it's okay. What I haven't told you yet is something different. When you're dealing with things such as number 8, you just take your coefficient and put parentheses around it, and then make your fraction. So this is still your power, and this is still your index. It's 3/4. Not that much different. So I hope you worked on number 8 by yourself. Number 6. It's the same thing. Number is 2. Number is 2. And 8 times 1 is 8. So this is your coefficient. And this is your power, so simply 1. And then your index, which is 2, because there's no number outside the radical. So moving on, we will learn expressions. So let's learn expressions. Okay? So that we know that when a radical number has no index, it's going to be automatically 2. So this 2 is special because this means 2 numbers times itself equals this coefficient. How do we figure this out? Let's figure this out together. What 2 numbers times itself equals 9? You guessed it. It's 3. Yes, 3 times 3 equals 9. See, because there's 2 numbers that must equal this coefficient, but it has to be the same number. So the answer is simply 3. When it comes to a number with a fraction that has the same coefficient, it's going to equal the same answer as this one. So it's going to equal 3. Because this one is the same as this one, but this is in rational form. That is the only difference. This is rational form. This is rational form. The same thing for this one, except this one has 3 numbers. What 3 numbers could that be? 3 times 3 times 3 equals 27, because it's 9 times 3. Thank you for learning with me, and have a great